primary keys from a table using the alter table command. You can see I've already typed out the SQL code which we need to use to add and remove primary keys. So to add a primary key, we need to type alter table followed by the table name, and then we type add primary key followed by the column name which we want as our primary key in brackets, and then end with a semicolon. And then to remove a primary key from a table, we need to type alter table followed by the table name and then type drop primary key. So let's go through an example of adding a primary key to a table. So let's add a primary key to the addresses table in our test database. So the first thing I want to do is I want to type describe addresses, and that's because I want to show you something about the addresses table before we add our primary key. So let's run that command, and you can see here that we have information on our addresses table. So we have our columns here, we have their data type, we have whether they can contain null values, and we can see they can all contain null values. And then we have this column called key, and that's the one I want to look at. So you can see here that all of them are blank. All the columns are blank under this key. And this is the column which is going to change. It's going to show which columns are primary keys, which columns are foreign keys. So this is going to change once we've added our primary key to our addresses table. So let's do that now. Let's make this ID field our primary key. So to do that, we need to come in here and we need to type alter table, followed by the table name. So it's addresses in this case. And then we need to add primary key, open a pair of brackets, end with a semicolon. And within the brackets, we just need to type the column name. So in this case, it's just ID. And we can run that statement. And then we can run describe addresses again, so we get that information about the addresses table back. And you can see now that two things have changed for this ID field. You can see that now it states in the key column that it is a primary key, the ID field. And you can also see that it now no longer accepts null values. And that's because in a primary key column, you can't enter null values. So this null has switched from yes to no. So that's how we add primary keys to tables. Now let's have a look at removing a primary key. So let's just remove this primary key for this ID field in the addresses table. So to do that, all we need to do is we need to type alter table again, followed by the table name. So it's addresses again, and then we just need to type drop primary key. We don't need to state the column, just drop primary key. We can run this, and then let's check by running describe addresses again. And you can see that now under this key column, we no longer have the primary key set for the ID field, but this null value has not changed. So we haven't changed this null constraint. The ID field can no longer accept null values. So just be aware when you drop a primary key column in a table, it's not going to change the fact of whether it can accept null values. It's still going to be set to no. And now let's have a look at the people table. So let's type describe people and run that query. And you can see we have the same setup that we had with the addresses table. All columns can accept null values and none of them are set to primary keys. So as a mini challenge now, I want you to pause the video and add your own primary key to the ID field in the people table. So pause the video and I'll be back with the solution in a second. Okay, I'm back and I'm sure you were able to do this. All we needed to write was alter table and then the table name people and then type add primary key and it's the ID field again. So we just had to pretty much just change the table name. And if we describe people again, we can see that now we have this primary key set for the ID field and it can no longer accept null values. So we've added our primary key to the ID field in the people table. Okay, so that's it for adding and removing primary keys from a table. So let's move on to the next video.